Chapter 17. This is my last day coming to class. Tan, you're really dropping out of college? Tang, a registered nurse, asked with a disappointing look on her face. Without you, we won't have any eye candy left to oogle. Nothing will rejuvenate our old souls. I laughed, softly raising the vacutainer tube and transferring the blood that Tang just collected from the old lady's vein. Am I really an eye candy? Why, yes. You're a rare jewel. A pretty, masculine boy like you is hard to come by. I lost it at the word masculine. I wouldn't argue with that. I am indeed masculine, but I also liked men though. Why don't you finish out school first? You're a third year now. Only 1 year of college left to go. Don't you regret it, Tan? Tang placed a cotton wool ball and a plaster on the blood collection area. I really have to. In 1 year, my mom's condition might get worse at any time. I need to stay by her side. I unpacked the needle in preparation for Tang to continue her task. Tang sighed. Okay, I understand. Which school are you going to transfer to, if you don't mind me asking? Medical school? I passed the admission exam to the biochemistry program. Actually, I opted for pharmacy school or dental school, but my score was too low. And I don't think I have any chance with the medical school to begin with. I couldn't compete with kids these days in terms of knowledge anyway. I handed the needle to Tang. Any faculty available will have to do now, I'm afraid. I just need to go to that university because it's not far from the hospital where my mom is receiving her treatments. Good luck. Tang smiled softly and handed the needle back to me. You do it, Tan. Since this is your last day as a student nurse, you might as well do it. Only God knows when you'll get the chance to do this again. I took the needle. You never know, I may come back to finish school and be a nurse. Ha, I'm pretty sure you'll be on your way to do something else. When you succeed, don't forget to pay us a visit here in Bangkok sometimes. Tang went to the female patient, who was sending us a smile before asking for her permission to let me, a nursing student, take her blood under Tang's supervision. While I was trying to find the patient's vein at the crook of her arm, my eyes suddenly fell on someone walking into the female surgery ward. He was average in height. His name was embroidered with green thread on his short lab coat. He must be an intern or a resident whom I had never met before. He walked straight to the patient on the opposite bed across from mine, on which I was drawing blood from my patient. He greeted the patient and introduced himself to her in a confident and clear voice. I followed through with my task. When I turned back to the opposite hospital bed, I found that the curtain had been drawn around the bed to maintain patient's privacy. What's that doctor doing here? I turned to ask Tang, recalling that the patient on the bed had been in a motorcycle accident. Oh, I think he's the pathology resident. Tang took off the gloves. We're done here. Let's hurry to the other room. Yes, ma'am. I pushed the cart containing supplies for blood collection, following Tang out of the room. I took a glance at the bed that the pathology resident pulled the curtain around. Something about this resident drew my attention to him. It could have been his looks that I found him attractive, but I decided to let this feeling go. Soon I wouldn't be here any longer, returning to be by my mother's side, who was seriously ill. I must not allow myself to form any attachment to anyone here. On December 12th, at 1:15 a.m., I stood there, watching Dr. Bun's sleeping form in the darkness. I'd managed to put him to sleep without breaking a sweat. Right now, I was about to do what my brother had ordered me to do. I pulled out the phone, turning the camera on, and switching to the video recording mode. I tried to find the perfect angle to situate the phone. As a result, I set my phone on the dining table by the window, touching the red button at the bottom of the screen before walking to turn the lights in the room on. Based on several hours of my observation, basically the nurse would come to check his vital signs every 4 hours. One of the nurses had just done so around midnight. The doctor would prescribe enteral medicine for patients with head injury. Usually the patients were made to fast while they were put on IV fluids. Parenteral medicine included only painkillers, which were usually given when certain symptoms started. I was positive that no nurse would walk in on us with those aforementioned tasks at this time. I lowered the side railing, sitting on the edge of the bed. I raised my hand to caress his face. The man was in deep sleep, the effect of the medication previously forced into his system. Bunnikit wasn't handsome or cute, not the kind of person who stood out from the crowd. However, when I looked at him in his entirety, I actually found him really charming. I threw my hood back, leaning over near the crook of his neck, that I could smell his scent. My heart was pounding uncontrollably. I could picture myself making love with this man, and my hands began to wander across his body. No, this is wrong. I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to suppress the burning desire ignited in my chest. I quickly pushed myself back, retreating to the corner of the room, panting hard and fast. I couldn't do this, I just couldn't. I hurriedly approached the light switch and flicked it off. I put my cell phone into my pocket, pulling the hood up and walking out of the room at a quick gait. "Bun," I called out to the man who went still, as if his soul had been yanked from his body. I grabbed his shoulders and shook him slightly. "Bun, are you all right?" Was his soft response. His eyes wandered vacantly to somewhere far away. This was the last thing I wanted to see. It was as if I saw something inside him crumble to pieces, and now he was in pain. It must have hurt like hell to finally know about the bitter truth. "It shouldn't have happened at all, I know. It's because of my brother, he snapped." I had to try to say something to make him feel better real quick. I knew that he was strong, but it'd be better if he had someone to support him emotionally at times like this. You know, when something is obviously right in front of you, it's completely harmless, unlike the thing we can't see underneath our feet. Before you know it, a nail protrudes from your bloodied feet. Bun pressed his lips together as if he was trying to suppress the barrage of emotion. I could visualize his feelings in his statement. "Look, I know you're upset, but I want you to know that I'm on your side. You're not alone in this, Bun. I'll protect you. I'll end this madness and we'll be together." I reached for his hand on the bed. Oddly enough, Bun didn't pull his hand away. He'd probably had felt beaten down by the cruelty of the truth. "You still expect me to believe you? I expect you to cooperate with me. Aside from my mom, you're all I have left. I can't lose you both." I felt like Bun wanted to let out an emotional outburst, but he was trying to tame it down, which he was very good at. His actions spoke volumes about how much he'd bottled up inside. "This is just one of your lies to make me trust you. Bun." I moved closer to him to get a clear view of his face. "I can assure you, everything I told you is true. You want me to obey you. You lied about your mother so that I'd feel sorry for you. You lied. You're not Perth's brother. In fact, you're one of his men. You lied about being gay to get to me, sleep with me to gain my trust. You made me fall for you so that you can use me easily." Bun's voice grew into a snarl in the final syllable. I was stunned. The dam of emotion Bun had restrained began to flow over the edge. No matter how strong we were, I believed that at some point we all were bound to pour out the overwhelming quandary we had bottled up inside, just like what Bun was doing right now. This was not an act at all. This was Bun's true feelings. And he claimed that he fell in love with me? This must be true too. Bun loved me. And look what I did to him. There was an uncomfortably tight feeling in my chest, a torrent of guilt. My vision suddenly blurred, and then I could feel warm liquid streaming down my cheeks. I wiped away the tears from my eyes with the back of my hand. "I'm sorry." My voice shook. I knew Bun probably didn't hear my apology. He would no longer want to hear my voice. Beneath my strong exterior, I was just a boy, a fragile, weepy, and emotional one at that. I wept every time my mom became severely ill, and whenever the fear of losing someone I loved trespassed. Bun turned to look at me. He seemed shocked to see me at the moment. Tan, being gay isn't something you can fool anyone, you know? Same thing goes for my love for you. I looked up at the ceiling, hoping my tears would flow back in my tear ducts. Bun stared at me silently. I prayed that he saw whatever happened to me at this moment wasn't a sham, even though the hopes were painfully small. Your mother, what's she diagnosed with? She has SLE. What were the initial symptoms? It began with a rash when she was exposed to sunlight. We went to the dermatologist, and he gave her a topical medication for her ailment. I sniffled. After that, it led to swelling on her body, especially on the dorsum of her feet. And then suddenly came the fatigue and suffocation. I was in 7th grade then. She was taken to the hospital, they intubated her, sending her to the ICU. If I remember correctly, she also had a pulmonary edema. After a diagnostic workup, she was diagnosed with SLE. My mom had kidney failure. Her hemodialysis treatment continues to this day. You, Bun pointed his finger at me. The medical terms I used must have triggered his attention. You were a doctor? Ex-nursing student, I corrected him. I had nothing to hide anymore. Bun had a shocked expression on his face before letting out a sigh. Jesus. Ask me more. Ask me anything. I'll tell you until you believe me. I shook Bun's hand. Go on, ask me. How did you graduate in science then? Bun spent an hour later bombarding me with questions regarding my personal life. I knew that he was trying to see if I was lying. If the given answers contradicted with the previous ones, or if I acted suspiciously, he would know right away. However, since all my answers were true, I had nothing to be scared of. I felt that the atmosphere between us gradually relaxed more and more, like the chill in the air steadily grew warmer by the seconds. Bun returned to his old self, a man with a stable thought and mindfulness. Last question. Finally, these words came out of his lips after a myriad of questions. It doesn't have to be your last question. I'm always ready for your questions. Do you really love me? Bun looked right into my eyes. Honestly, that's the first honest truth I told you, I answered without any hesitation. Bun pressed his lips together, his eyes drifting down to my hands on my lap. He reached out and squeezed my hand firmly. I felt like someone was inflating a balloon in my chest. Bun stayed like that for a while before rising up and walking to the gun on the floor. He looked up to see my reaction as he crouched down to get the gun. I didn't act out since I was willing to let him have the gun to gain his trust. Bun rose to his feet with the gun in hand. He stared at me for a long time. Okay, I believe you. I almost jumped in the air with elation. I smiled in relief. I'd been using the wrong approach this whole time. To get him to do what I wanted, I must not control him. Instead, I had to let him take control. I had to lay bare my heart, and it was my turn to listen to him. Stop your joy for now and help me think about what we should do next. Bun checked the ammunition before closing the cylinder. What were you trying to do earlier? Kill both of your brothers? I admitted that I was really thinking of doing just that. Do I have other choices? Yeah, but you'll be charged with first-degree murder. Oh, and just so you know, kidnapping and unlawful imprisonment also come with that package deal. Then your father would probably kill your mother, and then me, probably. Bun pointed his finger at me. Okay, now we have 3 people to kill. Got any better ideas? I smiled broadly. You gotta help me then. We need to think this through. We can't afford any mistakes. Then Bun seemed to remember something. Hey, you got to call Pert back, right? Hurry and call him before he gets suspicious. I totally forgot that I was supposed to call Pert. Bun really was a cautious man. It's okay. I'll text him and let him know that I'll call him back this evening. Pert's easy to talk to. I want to know our plan first. We wouldn't be able to come up with a plan by the end of the day. We need more information. Bun paced back and forth nervously. I pulled out my phone and sent a message. Seriously, can't talk right now. We'll definitely call back by this evening. When I raised my head from the screen, I saw Bun standing over me. I was about to ask what he wanted, but then he climbed onto my lap, straddled me, rendering me speechless. He wrapped his arms around my neck before bending down to place his mouth against my lips. His kiss was hot like a burning flame, sending my thoughts to scatter everywhere. My hands reached up to his hips instinctively. I've got to let him control me. The power was in Bun's hands now, and this intimacy moment is no exception.